time for another Saints Happy Hour mock draft. This time in a year where it is the deepest defensive tackle draft in years. I said, Kevin, fix the goddamn Saints defensive line, and he's going to do it. Thomas, hit that intro.
Welcome to Saints Happy Hour podcast. We always have a source.
Dave remains quiet because he continues to search for that he can't find.
Oh, what did Nola Fredo say?
Yeah, try to get saved by Nola Fredo. That's a great strategy.
Now grab a drink and enjoy the show.
All right, everybody, welcome to another edition of Saints Happy Hour podcast. As always, we are brought to you by Hardhide Ponchatoula Strawberry Whiskey. I got Kevin with me. I got Thomas with me. If you're following us on the YouTubes, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, and leave a comment in the algorithm. It helps us get our videos in front of more people, in front of Saints fans. It helps. It's a way for you to help the podcast. Doesn't cost you anything. You should do it. We'll thank you for it. All right, Kevin. We're a little ways away from draft season, but the combine is through, and thing is, you're not a big. I'm not. You and me. We'll admit it. We're not like big, like huge combine tape watchers, all that stuff. But
no,
I did sort of watch the. I did sort of listen to podcasts and watch the content on NFL Network, like around the podcast, sort of get a feel for what's going on and like the depth of the draft and the two things that people, the draft experts, the kind of consensus was one. There's not that many there's not that many guys with first round grades. There's like 12 to 15 guys with first round grades. The other thing that was the consensus of everybody was this draft is loaded at defensive tackle. Like they had one draft expert says there are 40 defensive tackles that he had rated as either starters or potential starters at defensive tackle. And the defensive line is good. And that brings me to the Saints because, Kevin, the Saints defensive line, outside of Brian Bresee, it kind of stinks. So, like, they need fixing. So, you know, when we do these mock drafts, people that are following the podcast, or if you're just finding us, what I like to do with Kevin, because Kevin is our mock draft expert, he does dozens and dozens and hundreds of mock drafts by the time the draft comes around. But what I like to do, instead of me and Kevin just doing, we're doing another mock draft, we're doing it, I give Kevin an assignment, and I'll say, Kevin, you can only pick guys from the Big Ten, or Kevin, you got to no trade downs, or fix the offensive line, or get me skill position guys, or fix the pass rush. And today I said to Kevin, Kevin, fix the defensive line, fix defensive tackle, get this Saints defensive line in the right frame of mind. But Kevin, it's a little tricky for you now because the Saints since 2015 through 2024, we knew Dennis Allen, he ran a certain kind of defense and he had a type, right? At defensive end, right? You had to be gigantic. You had to have a certain kind of RAS score.
Redhead?
Yeah, he had a certain type, right? So now defense, maybe it's going to do Brandon Staley. It's going to the 3-4. You got to change it up. As you looked at the defensive line and the depth, were you still as excited and pleased with it as some of the experts were, apparently on everywhere around?
Yeah, like defensive tackle, like the funny thing about defensive tackle is the Saints could feasibly take a defensive tackle at 9. The Saints could take they could take a defensive tackle anywhere in their first 3 picks. I should say that the assignment that I got was I could only go through the first 3 rounds, no trades. So I had picks 90, 40, 71, and 93. The Saints could feasibly get a defensive tackle at any one of those numbers. Unless there's like a big run, unless there's a run, they could get somebody that could start.
Yeah.
That could start. Now, for the 3-4, and I'm basing this off of things that Juge said on the Big Show, you know, your guys that are 320 and above, there's fewer of those guys. So if you're gonna jump, you should probably jump within the first 3 picks instead of waiting for pick 93. Okay. This is assuming no trades.
No, assuming no trade. And as we get to
guys, and I should say there are guys in later rounds, like round 6 or 7, that you could take if the Saints wanted to take a guy, get an extra defensive tackle, like immediately put him in to compete for the starting spot, or at least solidify your backups so the Saints aren't like, oh, if one thing goes wrong, the whole painting is ruined,
It's tricky because with the 3-4, you've got the guys who are they're not classified as necessarily defensive ends, right? But they're going to pass rush. They're going to be standing up, right? Like Pat Swilling, he was classified as a linebacker for the Saints way back when.
Yeah.
But really what he did was he rushed the quarterback. Like he wasn't he did some pass rush, but pass coverage stuff, but he wasn't good at it. So here's my starting thing for you. The Saints are at 9.
Yeah.
Since I tasked you with fixing the defensive line, before you get into who you picked, was there difficulty in 2 areas? Did you have a tough time picking between defensive linemen at 9? And the second part, the pick you made at 9, if the Saints made this pick at 9 and didn't trade down, putting aside I want them to trade down, they need more picks, you're president, I'm vice president of the Trade Downs Association. Putting that aside, if they picked the guy at 9, would you be okay with it? Or would you say, that is not a good pick? You picked him too high. Besides my desperation for you to trade down and get more bodies, this is really a stretch, Saints. You shouldn't have done this. Or did the guy you pick at 9, you're like, no, that's okay. Like he's about that range. They didn't reach.
Yeah, I am so enthusiastic about them trading down that I've said that even if Ty Warren is there at 9, I want the phone calls. Even if Abdul Carter is there, I want the phone calls. Like, don't get me wrong, I've got the draft card with their names on it, ready to go. But I at least want to sit by the phone and hear it out.
Yeah, you'll hear it out. But what I'm saying is this a guy that if he's there and you pick him, you're like, listen,
I wouldn't be mad.
You wouldn't be mad.
I would. There's a few guys that I would be mad or bothered by or annoyed. Mm-hmm. And then there's guys that it's like slight disappointment in the sense that I get it. What is it? It's disappointment combined with understanding. I understand why we did this.
Yeah.
I still wish we would have traded down.
I'll phrase it to you this way.
The guy I picked is probably one of those guys.
I'll phrase it to you this way. If the Saints had an offer to trade down, but on the chart, on the pick value chart, you're only getting 70% of what the chart says you should get, would you still do the deal? Would you do the deal or would you take the player?
70, no.
Okay. So tell me the player you picked.
All right. So I will tell you this because I remembered a couple of the options that were there.
Yep.
So James Pierce was sitting there, edge defender. Mike Green was sitting there, edge defender. Mm-hmm. And then there are guys like obviously later down the line. But the guy I went defensive interior, and I went with Kenneth Grant out of Michigan.
Ooh.
Because I looked at it like, listen, if we're going 3-4,
that's right.
We need a thick fella.
That's right.
In the middle.
Mm-hmm.
And Kenneth Grant is 339.
Yeah.
He's the heaviest guy, like on the listed on PFF of all the defensive players for some while. Like the next heaviest defensive interior guy you get is from Ohio State, Tyleik Williams, and I don't know if I'm pronouncing his first name right. I took a stab at
He's
it.
moving.
But
He's not as highly rated as Brandon Graham necessarily, but if you're playing a 3-4,
wait, Brandon Graham.
Who am I thinking? I'm thinking of the other
Mason
Michigan.
Graham?
What's that?
Are you thinking of Mason Graham?
Yes, Mason Graham from Michigan.
Okay.
So he's not quite as highly rated as him. This is a great pick, Kevin, because it engenders a lot of discussion. I'm okay with it at 9, but if the Saints managed to trade down and got him at like
13
12,
or 14.
13. If you told me, oh, the Saints are going to trade with Dallas is going to take Jenny, and you're going to get Dallas's second round pick, or they're going to trade with the Colts at 16, and they're going to get the Colts third and the Colts 2026 second or whatever, and you're going to get me one or two, or you're going to get me an extra pick from somebody in the top 50 or 60 picks, right? And you got him. I would love this pick. At 9, it feels a smidge high, but like not. It's not like it's. I don't think people will be like, oh my God, I can't believe they just did that. Like it won't stun people. I don't think.
Right. Right. I agree.
The other two guys you mentioned, Green and the guy from Tennessee. Couple of notes on them. I have heard whispers that are getting louder about off-field stuff for them. So we'll just see about that.
Right. Well, the thing that I'm not so sure about with like what throws me off with Mike Green is he's a sophomore. Like he played a full season in 2024 and played like half a season in 2023. And look, the numbers there look good. They look good.
Yeah.
It's just for some reason I'm thinking like you played 1.5 seasons and you're a sophomore. Like unless this guy's combine and interviews or personal workouts absolutely wow the hell out of people, I would pass on him if he was get there at 9. Like let's say Kenneth Grant was gone. Let's say, it was, your defensive interior guys that you would be interested in you don't want to draft one of them because it really would be a reach at 9. So your bets are either you go one of the two edge guys, Pierce or Green, or you take a Ty Warren. Then I would take the Ty Warren and say we're just gonna focus on defense the next few picks.
And now you know this, I think, better than a lot of people know it. Now you start, because you do the mock drafts often. This is the point, Kevin, I feel like, where as we do this exercise, and me and you talk regularly, and we do these podcasts, you are starting to say, oh, the computers and stuff, this guy's moving up, this guy's moving down. Like this is the combine is like the first sort of shakeup of the rankings, and it really starts to settle, and we sort of the lies and the fudging and the age and stuff, that sort of stuff goes away, and you're bored. It's not anywhere near settled yet. Yeah. But it's the combine is that first process to where we get a handle on some of these guys.
Yeah, and let me tell you, excuse me, where's this fella? Because I was examining some things, like the combine really is going to be the great equalizer for some of these guys, because there's a fella ranked in the top 100 now, Kamen Rucker from North Carolina. He's an edge defender. He is listed. Yeah. His weight is listed at 265. His height is listed at 6'2". And now I want to make sure that I've got the weight number, because the measured height, they measured him at the combine at 6'1", and his weight was 254.
Yeah,
So the PFF numbers.
Well, no, here's what. Go ahead.
I'm just going to say. So it's like, so the PFF numbers, 6'2", 265, slightly inflated. Like,
well, here's
do you want an edge defender?
Yeah,
who's 6'1"?
Well, here's the thing that I learned this week as I consumed a bunch of content, combine footage and information. What happens is guys play at a weight and they're listed.
Yeah.
But then they are like, oh, I got to get ready for the combine. The combine is all about the shuttle drill, the 40, this and that. So they shed that weight in order to run.
Okay.
They're going to run. They're going to do the cone drills, right? Because your 40 time, right? Whatever you run at the combine, it kind of sticks with you forever, even like 3-4 years down the line. So guys are like, I'm going to maximize myself at the combine for this test, and then I'm going to go back up to my playing weight. So that's
fine, but you can't fake height.
That's right.
And I know it's 1 inch. But when you are 6'2", going from a 6'2" defensive end to a 6'1" defensive end, to me feels like a really big deal.
It is. Well, the thing is, Kevin, your bullshit detector goes off, and you're like, is he 6'2"? Is he 6'1"? Is he 6 foot and a quarter? Like, you know, like my bullshit detector goes off on that, you know?
Right.
And height, it's one of those things, it doesn't matter until it matters. Yeah, that's right. So
and it's like, you know what? Again, vibes and numbers.
That's right.
And I try and avoid things that I look at, you know, when I look at something, I'm trying to avoid, okay, this is one of those, like you said, it's not a problem until it is a problem.
Yeah. And
I try and look at things that are like, do we need, you know, has this guy done, I just lost my train of thought. Has this guy done enough to make me feel comfortable? Or has this guy demonstrated that, you know, his wingspan or arm span isn't as big a deal? Like there was a guy last year that I think we talked about that it was like hand size or something was an issue, and he's turned out okay.
Well, yeah. And like,
and I wish I could remember his name, but
Clancy, the defensive tackle for Tampa, had
that's him. Yep,
he had really short arms, and we were like, listen, he might be the exception, but defensive linemen with this short of arms, like the list of dudes that have succeeded is like Aaron Donald and like, or even not, like even Aaron Donald like reached the minimum requirements. Like the list is very, very, very short. So like,
and
I don't want to take.
He seems like he's going to fit on.
He seems like he's going to be pretty good. And this is another guy that I don't know where he's ranking, but he dominated the combine, and he's a guy, Texas A&M's Shamir Stewart.
Yeah.
9.99 RAS, like RAS God.
Yes.
Here's my thing is though, Kevin, I don't want anything to do with him because you know what? I do not like guys at big schools that underachieve and a team in the NFL is like, I'm going to fix him. I don't like that. And you know, and LSU people are screaming at me right now. Probably, what about Danielle Hunter for LSU? He was a RAS dude. He wasn't great at LSU. Now he's all pro in the NFL. Yes, you can name him. Name me 3 other ones though. Like, let the other people pick the RAS God who struggled in college, especially at a big school. If he's a RAS God, I want the tape to match, and Stewart doesn't. So that's just me. And I know the tape nerds and all this will say blah, 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 blah. But that's just me. And it's me and you. It's a vibes thing. Like, I'm just I just want to stay away from it.
He's rocketing up the mock draft list, and I imagine it'll go even higher. Like his PFF rank is currently 43. I imagine he'll shoot up even higher. As the combine numbers and the RAS numbers and stuff as people digest them. But like you said, his last year in school, disappointing.
Yeah, like
his last year in school was disappointing. He had 4 disappointing games to close out the year. Like, he looked good against LSU, looked good against Bowling Green, Mississippi State, whoever this college with a cowboy and an M on it. I don't know who they are, but had a good game against them. But like intra or interconference competition, bad against Florida, Arkansas, Mizzou of all people, South Carolina, and Auburn.
Kevin,
and Texas is in the damn conference now.
Kevin, I was at one time when I was younger, I was a failed stand-up comedian, improv person.
Weren't we all?
And but one of the things that they always did, and I'm going to try to transition this to actual football, is they used to have this game they would play and like a skit you would do when you would do improv, and it would be no matter what the other person did, you couldn't be negative. You had to say yes and to whatever they did. And my thing is, with RAS score, it's necessary, but it's not sufficient. So like when you tell me he's got a 9.9 RAS, that's awesome. And what else? Yes. Right. And what else? Right. Well, his tape's got to be, okay, he's got a great RAS and he's got great tape. Awesome. Let's do business. But when you say he's got great RAS, but his tape's kind of bad and he's injured and he's kind of inconsistent and he disappears for games, like, no, I'm out. So let's get to pick your next pick for the Saints, round 2.
Yeah, and one other thing about Shamar Turner. So as a defensive interior lineman, he weighs 300 pounds. Now that's his listed weight, 300. Mm-hmm. If you're going to play interior in a 3-4, you got to be thicker.
That's right.
So there you go. All right, so my next pick, pick 40, I was looking at, hang on, let me close the part out. 2 of this. I was looking at edge defenders, and some of those options had already been snatched up. Tyleik Williams was still there, but I was like, I already grabbed the one defensive interior lineman. I'm not going to grab another one back to back. That would be idiotic.
You gotta have dudes.
Princely Umanmielen. God, I hope I'm saying that last name right. He was there.
Yeah.
I wish Landon Jackson was there. He's a big damn dude out of Arkansas. And I like Jack Sawyer, but I've heard people say maybe he doesn't like work in a 3-4. So I am deferring to people who are saying that. Yeah. So I passed on him. Instead, what I did was, where the hell is this? Is he not? Where is he? There he is. So his PFF rank was actually higher. And I went with a linebacker. And I went with Demetrius Knight Jr. out of South Carolina.
Ooh, I like
So this guy's 6'2", listed as 6'2", weighs 245. He had a pretty good 2023. He had a better 2024. And it's like, okay, this guy has a good run defense grade and pretty good pass rush coverage numbers. If you're going to run a 3-4, we're going to need more linebackers.
What?
The Saints, the Saints have so many holes.
Yeah.
You're going to pick somebody that's got to fill in almost immediately.
And as we do these theme drafts, I know some people that are new to the show are screaming, "Well, why don't you? Why the Saints aren't going to draft like this in real life." But here's the reason why we do this. 1, it's fun, but 2, Kevin is doing mock draft after mock draft, and as we do defensive line, he's going to dive into the defensive line for this draft. So you learned about Grant. You learned about Knight. All these guys. I want these names to be in front of our fans and to be in front of me. So like on draft night, if the Saints pick this guy, you'd be like, oh yeah, I remember when Kevin and Ralph did that mock draft and they did the names. So we're gonna do these. We did what didn't we? We did it for wide receiver, I think, already. So we're gonna do this. And Kevin, I get to make cock jokes. They pick guy from South Carolina. I love it. Joke Raz off the charts.
Right.
Any negatives about him besides the fact that he's got a name of an all-time Saints bust, Sean Knight? I don't like that. But what else you got for me on him?
I mean, there's a missed tackle rate that I can't. I'm obviously not good at being able to judge that. So maybe that's a little questionable. But he's trending. Like he's basically stayed trending in the same range. He's kind of
he's not moving down, he's not moving up. He's like locked in.
He's basically in this, like, he's either just before 40 or just after 40. And he's 6'2", 245. Had a good shoot, what the hell year was that? He had a good. He's graduated, so yeah. I think he hung around one extra year.
And here's the thing I will say to people. Another reason to listen to this podcast, subscribe, go to patreon.com Saints Happy Hour. By the way, Kevin, thanks to Johnson and Audrey, they signed up this week. Thanks, guys, for becoming patrons. So here's the thing that I've been noticing, and I think Andrew rant about we don't know about these coaches and we say, oh, they're a great hire and we love them or we hate them. We don't know shit about these assistant coaches that the Saints have hired. The one thing I will say though, Kevin, I believe you look at they hired college guy for secondary, college guy for linebacker, college guy for defensive line. I believe that tells me the Saints, they might be keeping Derek Carr. It looks like they will. But they are going to rip this defense to the studs, and they are hiring coaches that are from college. And that means, to me, they're saying, listen, college coach, you got to be comfortable with two things. You got to be comfortable with playing kids, and you got to be comfortable coaching them technique and having them play and work through all their stuff that they don't know how to do, where a lot of coaches are like, I want the veteran guy to play. He might be old. He might be a little bit slow, but he knows what to do. He knows where to go. The Saints are like, no. We're drafting a bunch of kids. We're playing the kids. You got to make it work. And they're hiring college coaches to do that. So my point is, I think the next phase of this rebuild, like last year was getting the cap in order. This year it'll be in cap in order. Next year, it'll be the quarterback. But this year, Kevin, I think they're going to tear down the defense like it's an old hotel on the Vegas Strip. And I think you're looking at the draft, you got to study these rookies, and you better be ready to accept a bunch of kids playing. And that's why I love this draft for you. Is this guy South Carolina? You think you would expect him to be right in, right?
Right, because listen, if you're going 3-4, so look, if you're keeping DeMario, that means your starters are Pete Warner, Demario Davis, and Willie Gay.
Well, Willie Gay's a free agent if he's back.
Well, there you go. And then your second line of guys are Nephi Sewell, DeMarco Jackson, and Anthony Orji.
Ooh, that is.
You either need a guy to come in and be an immediate starter, and I think this guy can be, or somebody who is going to be a guy who can step in and be a starter.
And and remember, you're not going to be spending money in free agency. So
correct.
The kids will be playing.
If you try and spend any money in free agency, I can't see him doing it for a linebacker. I mean, this is the guy who wanted the guy from the Ravens.
But I think they could. I think potentially plug it. Go watch our bargain shopping show. Me and Kevin did some linebackers. I think they'll try to bargain hunt in free agency, and they may target a linebacker or two. But even if they sign your guy from Baltimore, my guy Josh Uche, that in no way should stop them from drafting the South Carolina kid Knight at 4 in the second round. Like. The guys we're buying like a $10 scratch off in free agency. So I like this. I like this draft so far. What did you do in the third round? Remember, kids, Saints have 2 third-round picks. So what's first up, Kevin?
So let me make this. You were talking about getting the college coaches to coaching up the kids. This is the analogy of, and it's a baseball. It's like I have to go to a different sport altogether. You have 2 players. You have a veteran and a rookie. They both run to first base in the exact same time. Which player do you take? You take the rookie because the veteran is running with perfect form. The rookie is not running with perfect form. Right. You teach the rookie perfect form, they'll be faster than what the veteran is currently doing.
Yeah.
So there you go. So with the third pick, now I decided, all right, I found me an edge defender. Hang on, let me scroll down. There were still some, I thought, well, we got another linebacker. Chris Paul was sitting there. Sebastian Castro was somehow sitting there. Jordan Phillips from Maryland was sitting there. Let me scroll back up this side of the page. And some other guys were sitting there. It's hard seeing all the offensive players sitting there that you normally
you can't take because I gave you a sign.
Grab, but you can't take them. So I thought, all right, I want an edge defender. This was sort of a best guy sitting there who I'm tantalized by. Like I'm not inclined to run to him, but he was sitting there and he looked good. And I was like, this wasn't like last call at the bar. You're like, okay, she looks fine. This was all right. I see where this is like maybe 90 minutes before last call. You're like, all right.
Okay.
This person's there. I like the vibe they're putting out. Let me try and see what's happening here because I don't want to be stuck 90 minutes from now taking whoever's coming out of the Coke bathroom or whatever.
And here's my question for you, Kevin, as a mock draft expert. At what point when you're picking, obviously the first 2 rounds, you're like, I want a guy who I think starter, locked in, is going to contribute right away. When you're doing mock draft, is it third round, is it fourth round where you start going, I'm picking him on traits because size, speed, RAS, where we talked about
that would be out of the top 100.
Okay.
So out of the top 100. Like, give me the first 100 picks. I'm looking for people who I think can start. And with this team, the way it's constructed, anybody that gets picked in the top 100, I think should be either starting or competing to start.
Yeah. I would say this for the Saints draft.
Any position.
They have 4 top 100 picks. If they trade down and let's be positive, and let's say they trade down and get to 5 top 100 picks, Kevin, by the end of the year, if 4 of those top 100 aren't playing a ton, whether it's starting or whatever, I'm going to be disappointed. And I don't even know if those 4 are good because the Saints have so many needs. They might be playing a ton of rookies, and some of them, just because they play, might not be any good. But I want all these draft picks playing. So that's my thing.
Right. I want to know, like, you hammered this late last year, and you've been hammering it ever since. We want to end the 2025 season saying, okay, I liked what I saw with this guy.
That's right.
We can definitely keep him. Or, okay, this guy didn't play well but showed flashes. I think we're okay on this. You want to know where we have to go in 2026.
Yeah. Well, the sort of I want it to be more fun and less toxic.
Well,
about the way we talk about Spencer Rattler. Like, if the Saints would draft Knight, what I want in December is you saying, Ralph, he's fine. He's got this many tackles. He's got a sack. He's got 2, whatever, an interception. He picked up 3 fumbles. He's good to go. I don't think we need that spot. And me saying, but he only played the last 6 games, Kevin. He was kind of nicked up. But like, I'm not sure. And me and you are arguing about it. But we're not arguing about a hypothetical on he didn't play at all. Maybe he'll start to play in 2026. That's the discussion I don't want to have. But anyway,
Right.
Round 3, what you got for me?
All right, so the last guy that I had, actually, let me just say, I love that I've kept doing this. Elijah Roberts, I've got numbers for the last 3 seasons. So he's played at least the last 3 seasons. His 2022 year, he saw limited action. He started 2023 and 2024. He played good to very good in 2023 and 2024. He had 13 sacks in 2023. He had 8 sacks in 2024. If you can even bring me 6 to 7 sacks as an edge defender, and
In the 3rd round, that's a home run.
And the hurries, like he had 47 and 45 hurries in those 2 years respective. Like he's a pass rusher.
Like, to me, if the Saints picked Elijah Roberts, and at the end of the year, Kevin, at the end of the year, you're like, he had 4 sacks, 23 hurries, played on 40% of the plays, I would be over the moon, because then you can kind of see a trajectory. You can be like, well, year 2, he'll play more, he'll be better. Right. So like, to me, if you can, even if he's just, this is a name from the past, even if he's just a Bobby McCray type rotational guy who you feel confident in, that's like, he's a pretty decent player, like better than a body, not an elite starter, but a guy you'll be willing to pay on his 2nd contract $5 to $7 million. In the 3rd round at 71 at a premium position, home run.
Yeah.
So what's your last pick in our 3-round mock?
All right, so last pick in the 3-round mock, I was looking at, again, stayed on defense. I had considered Quandarius Robinson of Bama, edge defender. I like the cut of his jib, so to speak. I looked at Kobe Bryant briefly, a corner from Kansas.
Fun joke, Raz, off the charts.
Right. Listed 6'1", but 175 pounds. Like I wasn't sure about that. I saw that Cayman Rucker guy. That's how I looked at his numbers and was like, I'm not sure. And I ended up grabbing a safety.
They need a safety.
Well, yeah, they right. So it was a position of need. And I just thought to myself, in a 3-4, you could probably get this guy coming off the edge, coming from left field or whatever, and he might get some disruptions, things like that. So Andrew Mukuba from Texas, played in 2022, 2023, 2024, got better each year.
Yeah.
And looked really good this past season. 57 tackles. His coverage grade is high. What was he rated? His passer rating allowed was 12, which put him 4th overall in, I'm assuming this is, ranked among safeties with over 300 snaps. Like, that's pretty good.
Oh, and the Saints, they just hired the secondary coach from the University of Texas.
Bingo.
So,
yeah.
I mean, here's the thing, like, and I'll give you an example. It's going to sound strange at first, but Pete Carroll was coach of USC, right? And he went to Seattle. And they were like, oh, Pete Carroll, he is going to 100% draft Taylor Mays at safety in the first round. It was an awesome for him at USC, and he's going to pick him in Seattle. That's a lock. Came in the first round. Seattle was like, we're taking Earl Thomas. And people were stunned. And that is to say that if the coach of Texas that you just hired, if he wants the kid, you should believe in him. But if he doesn't, it's okay too. But I just think this pick makes a ton of sense. And we're gonna end on this, Kevin, is Tyrann Mathieu for the Saints. His contract voids after next year. And I want people to remember this about the salary cap. When a player's contract voids, what it means is you're gonna count for the Saints cap, whether you're on it or off it. Like Chase Young, he's going to count $9 million for the Saints cap this year, even if he's a free agent. Juwan Johnson, he's going to count nearly $7 million against the Saints cap this year, even if he's on it, even though he's a free agent. And the Saints have a ton of those contracts next year, and they're probably not going into next year, going to extend Honey Badger, right? So they're going to desperately need a safety, even if you keep Honey Badger one more year. You need another guy to plug right in and say, hey, you play a little bit, then you move into starter. So I think this is a great pick. The Saints just hired his coach. Of all these guys you pick, Kevin, he's the one that I would put money on will be a Saint come draft day. So final question, then we'll get out of here.
Yeah.
If I said to you, these four guys, one of them, awesome, going to get a second contract from the Saints. One of them is going to be a starter, but he's not going to get a second contract for the Saints. Pick those two players.
Starter, second contract with the Saints. I'll go with Elijah Roberts. Starter, not going to get a second contract. I'll go Demetrius Knight.
Okay. I like it. Kevin, I love these mock drafts where I give you an assignment and you dive into one position because it helps me understand the movements up, the movements down, and it gets me familiar with as many names as possible, because a lot of times as fans, and I'm guilty of it, we think of first and second round. We don't really dive deep into these names, and this will get us acquired with it. And Kevin, if the Saints finally do what we want them to do and trade down, they'll have more picks, which means more names, which means this exercise is even more valuable to people. I love this. I love this episode. Thanks for doing it, Kevin. Thanks for Thomas for running the show back in Poland. Thanks to everybody for watching on YouTube or listening. If you watch on YouTube, remember, like us, subscribe us, put a comment in the algorithm. It helps us. It doesn't cost you a thing. We love you guys. And until next time, the bar is closed.